Thousands of people across Russia are taking part in demonstrations in support of the jailed opposition leader, Alexei Navalny. Mr. Navalny's wife, Yulia, is among hundreds arrested. 10,000 people in one of Hong Kong's most densely packed districts, Jordan, have been ordered to stay at home because of rising cases of coronavirus. There are plans to test every resident and process the results over 2 days. Residents in Wuhan have been marking the first anniversary of the coronavirus lockdown, which saw the Chinese city sealed off for more than 2 months. 12 months on, and life in Wuhan has returned to normal. President Biden has proposed a $2 trillion relief package to help Americans struggling as the economic crisis deepens during the coronavirus pandemic. He signed executive orders to give low-income families easier access to federal food assistance.
U.S. President Joe Biden signed 10 executive orders Thursday aimed at fighting COVID-19. He called for a full-scale wartime effort. Families of 62 people killed when an Indonesian passenger jet crashed into the Java Sea this month attend a memorial. Rights groups say at least 1,000 people have been detained in Tunisia after several nights of unrest. And Japanese Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga promises a safe and secure Olympics after media reports say the government wants the Games canceled because of the pandemic.
Saturday marks 1 year since the Chinese city of Wuhan was locked down after the emergence of the world's first cases of the coronavirus. Life in the city appears to have returned to normal, but around the world, the virus rages on. Local authorities say nearly 3,900 people died after Wuhan's medical system was at one point on the verge of collapsing. They also say they have confirmed no new cases since May, except for those arriving from overseas. China says it has succeeded in containing the coronavirus. However, many people in the country initially criticized the government for failing to fully convey the risk of COVID-19 to the citizens because of its thorough control over information. They say that led to the rapid spread of the disease. The death of Li Wenliang, an ophthalmologist in the city, sparked an outcry. Li died last February after contracting the virus. He was the one who sounded the alarm on social media before an official announcement, but police reprimanded him for what they described as spreading false information. His death triggered an outpouring of praise for the doctor and criticism for the authorities. Another medical professional who treated coronavirus patients in Wuhan says people must never forget Li. NHK agreed to conceal his identity.
He didn't set out to be a hero. He only issued the early warning because he felt it was his responsibility as a doctor.
The doctor said that when people with suspected coronavirus started to die from lung disease in his hospital one after another, health authorities instructed staff to list the cause of death as a chronic illness such as high blood pressure.
We can't trust the announcements by the authorities. We may never know how many people died from the coronavirus because they falsified the death certificates.
Experts from the World Health Organization have been in Wuhan since mid-January to investigate the source of the outbreak. They are currently undergoing quarantine in a hotel. They are believed to be holding talks online with their Chinese counterparts. A full-scale investigation is likely to start late next week. But observers say the experts may not be able to uncover the full details of the virus's origins because so much time has passed since the pandemic broke out. Authorities in Hong Kong have locked down part of the city in response to a surge in coronavirus infections. This is the first time such a measure has been implemented in the territory. The lockdown began Saturday morning in a densely populated section of Kowloon Peninsula. Officials say it will stay in effect until every resident in the designated area has been tested for the virus. The measure will affect around 10,000 people.
Once the compulsory testing for the entire area has been completed, then the order will be lifted and people will be allowed to go out. So I would say that there is a difference between what we are doing in Hong Kong and what people normally refer to as city lockdown in other parts of the world.
The government wants to complete all the testing within 48 hours. More than 160 cases have been confirmed in the restricted area this month. Infections in Hong Kong started rising again late in November. Gatherings of 3 people or more have been banned. Dining out after 6 p.m. is also prohibited. Residents in certain places are required to undergo virus tests. However, dozens of new cases are being confirmed every day. 83 people have reportedly died across Japan on Saturday from the coronavirus. The latest figure brings the overall death toll from the virus to more than 5,000. Meanwhile, Tokyo officials say there were 1,070 new cases in the capital on Saturday. It's the 11th straight day that the daily tally has exceeded 1,000. The mayor of Brazil's Rio de Janeiro says he plans to cancel Carnival celebrations this year to prevent the further spread of the coronavirus. Organizers in the city had initially decided to move the event from February to July, but the virus has continued to rage across the country. Eduardo Paes issued a tweet on Thursday. He said it makes no sense to think at this point that we will be able to hold Carnival in July. The mayor also said it is impossible to do the preparatory work required to stage the celebrations at this time. Local media outlets say many officials support the cancellation. The officials reportedly believe it would be too risky to hold the event unless progress is made in the mass vaccination efforts. The number of infections in the country has topped 8.7 million. More than 210,000 people have died. That's the world's second highest fatality figure. The government launched its vaccination program a few days ago. People across Russia have been taking to the streets to call for the release of Alexei Navalny. The opposition leader was detained last Sunday after he returned from Germany. The protests began on Saturday in the country's far east. About 2,000 people gathered at a central square in the city of Vladivostok. They then marched along the main street. Many chanted slogans denouncing Russian President Vladimir Putin.
I can't accept the forcible and illegal detention of Navalny by the authorities.
Freedom for the people. We are not afraid. Everyone should join us and raise their voices against the rotten thieves in the government.
An independent human rights organization says over 1,900 protesters have been detained in more than 90 cities. Navalny's wife, Yulia, was among them, but she was reportedly released. Navalny is believed to have been poisoned last August with a toxic nerve agent used in chemical weapons. The opposition leader was treated in Germany. He was taken into custody on January 17th at an airport in Moscow. An online event has been held to mark the UN nuclear ban treaty that went into effect on Friday. It's the first time under international law that these weapons have been deemed illegal, although key countries have yet to sign on. Participants, including atomic bomb survivors, joined the event linking Tokyo, Hiroshima, and Nagasaki. It was organized by Hibakusha organizations. A well-known survivor living in Canada sent a video message.
この喜びを皆様と共に分かち合うことができて非常に感動を覚えています。
Young people who are involved in telling Hibakusha's stories shared their thoughts from the venue in Hiroshima. Participants in Nagasaki exchanged opinions on how to get the treaty to actually lead to the abolition of nuclear weapons. A member of a group working to abolish nuclear weapons expressed her determination.
The treaty's coming into force isn't a goal, but a new start. We would like to reaffirm that we will create a new norm for a world without nuclear weapons.
Meanwhile, the United Nations has announced that Cambodia has become the latest country to ratify the treaty. This brings the total number of signatories to 52, including Benin, which signed the pact last month. The UN nuclear ban treaty was adopted in 2017, but it took years to get the necessary 50 states to ratify it. The 5 major nuclear powers, as well as Japan and NATO members that rely on the U.S. nuclear umbrella, have not joined the treaty.
And it's great to have you with us here as we near the end of another week together. And on this Friday night, no break from the news. We begin here with the alarming headline on the coronavirus today. Britain's prime minister said today that they believe that this UK variant that we're now seeing here in the U.S. in at least 21 states tonight, that it's not only much more contagious, but it's also more deadly. Scientists are cautioning tonight that they still need to study this longer, but they do acknowledge already it does spread and easily. Tonight, the U.S. now reporting more than 413,000 American lives lost to the virus. New York State, for one, will run out of vaccine by the end of today. Governor Andrew Cuomo saying tonight that a new shipment is on the way, but it underscores the need to ramp up vaccine production. So many states say they need supply. The long lines, these images from a mega vaccination site at Six Flags Magic Mountain, that's in Southern California. Tonight, Johnson & Johnson saying it's getting closer to requesting emergency use authorization for its one-shot vaccine. That would be the 3rd vaccine for the American people. Of course, Pfizer and Moderna already. President Biden on the pandemic again tonight saying, quote, there's nothing we can do to change the trajectory of this pandemic in the next several months, but that we have to fight it together. And tonight, with concerns over the vaccine supply, what Dr. Anthony Fauci is now saying about the timing of that second dose, the window of time, how much time can pass before you have to get that second shot. ABC's Whit Johnson leading us off again tonight.
Tonight, a new warning that the highly contagious UK variant, which is already threatening the U.S., could also be more deadly.
There is some evidence that the new variant, the variant that was first identified in London and the southeast, may be associated with a higher degree of mortality.
That UK variant now in 21 states, believed to be up to 50% more contagious, and British health officials citing early evidence suggesting it may be up to 30% deadlier. But they're still investigating, and vaccines appear to work against it.
Even if the virus ended up not being any more deadly, the fact that it is more contagious means it's going to end up infecting a lot more people. It's going to cause more hospitalizations and a lot more deaths.
With the dwindling vaccine supply, the CDC now telling people there is some flexibility when a second dose can't be given on time.
Sometimes the situation is stressed where it's very difficult to be exactly on time. So we're saying you could probably do it 6 weeks later, namely 2 additional weeks. Quite frankly, immunologically, I don't think that's going to make a big difference.
And tonight, the CDC also saying in exceptional situations where the same brand of vaccine isn't available for a second dose, it's better to switch brands than skip that second dose. Many already worried they won't be able to get one, like healthcare worker Nikema Taylor.
I'm feeling so much frustration and so much anxiety about this. I'm trying to go online and to set my appointment for the second vaccine, and there's nothing available.
In New York City, the mayor asking the federal government for permission to use second doses as first doses.
It's going faster and faster. There's just no supply to keep up with it.
The state burning through 97% of its first doses, expected to run out by the end of the day. More is on the way, but the shortage forcing 15 vaccination hubs to close for now.
Did get the COVID, and I wouldn't wish it on anybody.
In New Jersey, long lines before daybreak. And in California, drivers at Dodger Stadium waiting up to 5 hours.
There was a 3 to 4 hour wait, so we came back this morning.
At this pace of the rollout, the mayor says vaccinating all of L.A. County would take until June 2022.
These are just stunning images, and they say they waited 4 or 5 hours and then came back the next day. Let's get right back to Whit Johnson on this again tonight. And Whit, we already knew that the UK variant was more contagious, now potentially more deadly. But with it spreading so quickly, and we knew this, scientists in the last 24 hours are now doubling down on masks in this country, making sure that the mask you're wearing is effective, even suggesting an extra layer in some cases.
David, more and more health experts are now suggesting wearing 2 masks in high-risk situations like when you can't avoid a crowd or you're in close proximity with other people. The best mask is still the N95, but those are generally reserved for healthcare